This is wrestling's greatest moments.
Hey now, wrestling fans. It's time for another episode of Wrestling's Greatest Moments. Wrestling fans love tag team wrestling, and we know there are so many great tag teams from different eras. However, what if there was a way to match the greatest teams of all time against one another? Sit back as Wrestling's Greatest Moments looks at 5 fantasy tag team dream matches. Before we get started though, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Here are the rules. These are all fantasy matches, which means that every team wrestles in their prime. Thus, a team whose heyday was in the 1960s competing against a team from the 1980s isn't dealing with the ravages of time. We'll briefly describe each team's strength and how the match could go, including finishes in which each team wins. Let us know in the comments who you think will win and why. For cases where teams worked as heels and babyfaces, we'll let you know how they're wrestling. This is the first video, and hopefully there will be more, so let us know how we can improve it. The Midnight Express, Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton with Jim Cornette versus the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid with Captain Lou Albano. The Midnights are working heel as they face the babyface Bulldogs. Both teams are known for their speed and double team moves. The Midnights have the advantage in brawling while the Bulldogs have the edge in power. The match begins with each team testing each other before settling into some basic grappling. Bobby Eaton tries brawling to gain the advantage, but the Dynamite Kid fires back with headbutts and European uppercuts that have him retreating to tag in to Stan Lane. Stan Lane's educated feet provide an initial advantage, but Dynamite quickly recovers and tags in Davey Boy, leading to double team trouble for Lane. Jim Cornette's interference is offset by Captain Lou, but both managers' antics draw the referee's attention, allowing the Midnights to get an illegal double team, changing the direction of the match. In finish number 1, a hot tag from Davey Boy shifts momentum as he takes out both Lane and Eaton. Tag to Dynamite, and the Bulldogs hit the running power slam diving headbutt on Lane for the win as the Dynamite Kid stops Eaton from making the save. In finish number 2, Davey Boy tags in to clean house, taking on Eaton and Lane. Although he's still woozy, Dynamite comes in to lend a hand, only for the referee to force him back to his corner. Although Lou Albano watches Cornette closely, he can't stop the Louisville Lip from sliding the tennis racket into the ring. Sweet Stan shows off his backswing, clobbering Davey Boy as Beautiful Bobby hits the Alabama Jam. Dynamite tries to run in, but is too slow after the shellacking he took. The Hart Foundation, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Bret the Hitman Hart, with Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart versus the Rock and Roll Express, Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton. This is somewhat different from the Midnights versus Bulldogs match in that the Hart Foundation has the edge in technique and power. That doesn't mean Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson can't wrestle, which they can, but that the Rock and Roll Express's strong suit their incredible speed and precision teamwork. This is the heel version of the Hart Foundation, which means Hart and Neidhart also have Jimmy Hart at ringside. Each team's track record shows a fantastic versatility against powerhouse teams, technicians, and teams that rely on speed. Here, a Pearl Harbor job by the Hart Foundation goes awry as Gibson and Morton thwart them and Irish whip Hart and Neidhart into each other. A double dropkick to Neidhart nearly ends the match in less than a minute, but Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart is able to distract the referee. The Rock and Roll Express dominate the match early on, using quick tags and double team moves to weaken Bret Hart while isolating him from Jim Neidhart. However, the Hart Foundation has dealt with speedy teams before, and Jimmy Hart's presence allows the Hart Foundation to get the edge. From there, the Hart Foundation ruthlessly beats down poor Ricky Morton. Despite appearing to be at death's door, a double team miscue from the Foundation allows Ricky to make the hot tag. In finish number 1, Robert Gibson dazzles Neidhart and Hart with dropkicks, whipping Bret into Jimmy Hart, who is standing on the ring apron up to no good. Gibson dropkicks the Hitman through the ropes and tags in Ricky Morton. Double dropkick to the Anvil as Ricky covers him to get the dupe. In finish number 2, Robert Gibson dropkicks both members of the Hart Foundation, but when he whips Bret into Jimmy Hart, Bret reverses, sacrificing Jimmy as Gibson bounces off the ropes and needs a power slam from Neidhart. Meanwhile, Bret knocks a woozy Morton off the ring apron, and the Hart Foundation hit the heart attack as Neidhart lifts Gibson up in a bear hug, clotheslines him for the 1-2-3. Announcer Gorilla Monsoon asks why the referee is giving the heels so much time, but referee Danny Davis seems to think everything is fine. The Texas Outlaws, Dick Murdoch and Dusty Rhodes versus the Sheepherders, Luke Williams and Butch Miller, with Jack victory. The Outlaws' size and strength advantage are canceled by the Sheepherders' ferocity and brutality. That's not to say that the Texas Outlaws are cream puffs, merely that the Sheepherders rely on what's worked well for them, bending the rules, and when possible, breaking them. Like the Road Warriors versus Bruiser and Crusher bouts, it's unlikely these two can fight to a conclusion in a traditional match, as these will likely end in double countouts or double disqualifications. As a result, promoters booked the two teams into a tag team Texas death match. The Texas Outlaws are cheered simply because the fans can't stand the Sheepherders, who are heeling it up in true form, rather than because Rhodes and Murdoch are working as faces. The Sheepherders manage to get the jump on the Outlaws before the match starts, throwing Murdoch out of the ring and double-teaming Dusty. The heels thwart Murdoch's attempt to get back in the ring, and they bust Rhodes open. More double-team moves allow the Sheepherders to get an early fall, but this match is just beginning. Murdoch gets back into the ring, this time with a wooden chair that he uses on both Sheepherders. Dusty recovers and joins in as the Outlaws stomp both men down. The two teams begin brawling outside the ring, with Dusty sending Williams into the ring post, then body slamming him onto the concrete. Murdoch clocks Miller with the timekeeper's hammer. Dusty throws Williams back into the ring, where he drops an elbow on him and covers him for the second fall of the match. Both teams make good use of the plunder outside the ring, with the Sheepherders choking Dusty out with a piece of cable, then whipping Murdoch into the ring post. Miller grabs a broken piece of chair and wallops Murdoch with it, busting him above the eye. Murdoch is nearly out as Dusty is lying outside the ring after being choked out. The Sheepherders get another fall, but this one isn't over until one team can't continue. In finish one, the carnage continues, with Murdoch rallying and going after both Sheepherders while Dusty tries to get up. The numbers catch up with Murdoch until Dusty runs in, lending a hand. The Sheepherders flag bearer Jack Victory decides now is the time to help, and he runs in, going after Dusty, whose back is turned. Unfortunately for the heels, Murdoch sees this and shoves Butch Miller into the way, and Victory hits Miller instead of Dusty. Murdoch clotheslines Victory out of the ring as he and Dusty use the flagpole to double clothesline Williams. Dusty breaks the flagpole over Williams, while Murdoch hits two brainbusters on Miller. That's it for the heels, as they don't get up after the fourth fall. In finish number 2, Dusty Rhodes is still recovering outside the ring when Jack Victory decides to take him out of the equation. Victory uses his trusty flagpole to beat Dusty down further while Murdoch fights alone. Already a bloody mess, Murdoch falls to the numbers game as the Sheepherders continue punishing him, including dropping his neck on the top rope. This is enough to finish the match as Murdoch and Rhodes fail to get up after the fourth fall. The Moondogs, Rex and Spot with Captain Lou Albano versus the Sharpe brothers, Ben and Mike. Two double tough teams, the Moondogs aren't known for their scientific skills, but their brawling under the guidance of Captain Lou Albano adds an added level of menace to what is already a dangerous team. While Rex and Spot give off an air of mindlessness, it's a mistake to underestimate their cunning and ability to exploit an opponent's weakness. The Sharpe brothers use their brawn and a mix of power-based moves with fisticuffs to keep opponents off guard. The match features some initial brawling. The Moondogs get the early advantage, double-teaming Mike while Ben watches from his corner. Mike fights back, but illegal double teams keep him in the ring for far too long. Finally, a miscued double team move from Spot sends Rex out of the ring, allowing Mike to somehow make the tag to Ben. Captain Lou helps Rex back onto the mat apron as Mike crawls to his corner. In finish number 1, Captain Lou senses that the match favors the Sharpe brothers the longer it goes, especially now with the fresh man in. Consequently, he works his magic, getting on the mat apron to distract the referee. This allows the Moondogs to brain Ben Sharpe with one of their rawhide bones. Spot drops an elbow and covers him as a referee turns around. Meanwhile, Captain Lou holds on to Mike's leg, slowing him down from making the save. In finish number 2, Ben and Mike use their conditioning advantage to slowly tire the Moondogs, despite risking the match running close to the 60-minute time limit. Here, the Sharpes finally get the momentum they need to inflict enough damage on Spot for Ben to cover him for the pin. Rex comes in for the save, but trips on the bottom rope, sealing the win for the Sharpe brothers. The Road Warriors, Hawk and Animo, with Precious Paul Ellering versus Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher. These two teams clashed in the AWA during the Warriors' run in the mid-1980s, but the Bruiser and Crusher's best days were in the rearview mirror back then. However, a match between the 1980s most explosive tag team and the Bruiser and Crusher of the 1960s would be much different. Both teams are close in speed and power, but Hawk and Animal have the edge in power and certainly in size. Both teams are double tough though, and known for their ability to dish out and take punishment. However, the Bruiser and Crusher are better conditioned, which means the longer the match goes, the more it is to their advantage. In scenario number 1, promoters appoint a legendary tough man such as Gene Kiniski or Larry the Axe Hennig to officiate the match. This bout begins with both teams bulldozing into the ring and attacking each other. Each side attempts to eliminate one of their opponents to provide a 2-on-1 advantage early on, but this doesn't happen. The referee still has difficulty maintaining order, but prevails to a certain extent, allowing a back and forth. Hawk and Animal, with the guidance of Paul Ellering, managed to isolate the Bruiser from the Crusher for a good portion of the bout, putting a hurting on him with repeated power moves. However, the Bruiser makes the hot tag, and the Crusher cleans house, taking it to Hawk and Animal. It doesn't take the Bruiser long to get his win back, and he joins in, resulting in a free-for-all. Unfortunately, as sometimes happens, the referee escorts one of the wrestlers back to his corner, in this case the Bruiser, allowing the Road Warriors to capitalize with double-team maneuvers. A doomsday device later, and the Warriors win as Bruiser is stopped from making the save. In scenario 2, these teams have fought to so many inconclusive finishes that promoters booked them in a steel cage match. Bruiser and Crusher have the advantage given their record in winning cage matches. Nevertheless, it's no cakewalk for either side, as both teams are bloody to the point that the announcers wonder whether the referee will stop the match. The referee doesn't, and this one continues with Bruiser and Crusher tying Animal up in the ropes while they double-team Hawk and get the win. Who do you think would emerge victorious in these matches? What other teams would you like to see wrestle in Fantasy Dream matches? Share your thoughts in the comment section, and let us know if there are any videos you'd like Wrestling's Greatest Moments to cover. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, follow us on X and Instagram, and spread the good news about Wrestling's Greatest Moments, the channel that celebrates the squared circle.